All right, everyone. Ian here with Scotch on the Rocks. And we're back. We've just done the IV portion of the series on first aid. And I kind of, like I said, just want to do kind of a podcast sort of. It's going to be different, obviously, than my normal videos. I'm not out in the field. I'm in my house. But there's some information that I want to get out to everybody that doesn't require any demonstration or anything like that. I can just be done with the conversation. I'm here with Chris, one of my friends. We talked about him in the previous video. He's got a lot of experience as an EMT, and he's seen some weird things, especially out in the field and in the bush and things like that. So I just kind of want to pick his brain, kind of get some information out there for everybody to gather. And you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just put this up somewhere and listen to it. It's just going to be my face for the majority of it. So Chris, again, welcome. Thank you for coming and taking time out of your day and giving me an IV and kind of talking with me about all this. So we had a conversation previously about some of the things that we need to be aware of with first aid. What would you say are kind of, I guess let's start with the legality. What's the legality of providing first aid for somebody?
So in an emergency situation, I mean, you kind of got to do what you got to do. You have the Good Samaritan law that protects you if you're not licensed.
Okay.
If you are licensed, you're kind of bound to, like I'm an advanced EMT.
Right.
I should not be providing paramedic level skill, even though I'm aware of them and seen them done and know how to do them. I'm not supposed to provide that because of my licensure from the state.
Right.
But as a civilian, it's just Good Samaritan law. You do what you got to do to save someone's life.
That's why I had you come in and give the IV. I know how to do it. I trained in the Army how to do it, but I'm not going to give that information out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So would that be acting in good faith? You know what I mean? Like thinking that, let's say for a second that somebody has a really bad cut and you give them a tourniquet, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that they didn't need a tourniquet and they end up losing one of their appendages, their arm, we'll say. Mm-hmm. Could you be sued for that?
Civilly, I guess you could be sued for anything.
Right.
But typically that Good Samaritan law as a civilian protects you from that.
Okay.
It's just you're acting in good faith. You're trying to say, you're assuming that they want their life saved.
Right.
And so you're going to do what you got to do.
Perfect. So you've had some experience. What are some of the most common injuries you've seen out in the backcountry? Like things that we need to be worried about? Like you're out on a camping expedition or a hiking expedition. What are things that we would need to be kind of looking out for?
I would say ankle injuries are a big one for hiking, obviously. Ankle, leg injuries, falls, rock climbers are out there doing their thing, and they sometimes make a mistake. Penetrating injuries from sticks or branches, that kind of stuff. Seen a lot of those. Fishing hooks are a big one. That's a big one.
And that's one that you don't think about.
That is one you don't think about, but there's a lot of those, especially in the summertime.
Yep, and that's one of those things where you pretty much end up at a hospital because once that barb gets in, there's no way to fish it back out.
It's tough to do. It can be done.
Okay.
In fact, I learned that actually at the local hospital here. There's different ways you can do it without going to the hospital.
Okay.
It's not going to be painless. It's going to suck.
Right. How about burns? Have you seen a lot of burns?
A lot of burns, yeah. Campfires, kids falling on the grates by the fires, that kind of stuff.
Okay. What are some preventative measures that we can kind of take to make sure that we don't get to that point? You know, what are some things we can look out for?
Yeah.
Like wearing a good set of boots for ankle injuries, things. Is there anything that you would recommend that we kind of look out for?
Yeah, just proper gear. A lot of people go out there in tennis shoes and expect to hike up to Lee Lake or something. You got to have something more because even though you're not injury prone, your ankles do need support. You're not on even ground anymore. And people don't think about that. They think of it as like walking a track or something.
Right.
Which is not the case. It's unlevel, it's rocky, it's slippery. And that's one of the first things you're going to do is hurt your ankle and something like that.
Right. And that could be said for anything. I mean, even the places that I go, you know what I mean? They're way back. So here's one for you. You're out in the backcountry. What's the best way to get a hold of somebody? Having a radio? I mean, a cell phone? What are some of the weirdest ways that people have gotten into contact with the ambulance?
We've had a gal attacked by a grizzly bear. She happened to have her GPS with a 911 button on it. They gave her location to that service, who then called our local 911 here and let them know something was wrong. Radios are a big one. Almost everybody I know carries a radio or has a radio of some kind.
Right.
Even if I'm traveling just on the highway heading to Kalispell, I've always got a radio in the truck because the cell service, it's getting better now, but it used to be so spotty that you get 5 miles out of town and you have no communication. So that radio is a huge deal. Knowing your local channels to your local dispatch is a huge deal, because a lot of people get them and have no idea what they need to talk on.
Right.
So that's important to learn.
Now, one of the things we need to remember about radios is that there are certain frequencies that you cannot transmit on.
Yes.
As far as you have to be licensed. However, if it's an emergency, all bets are off. If there is an active emergency, if somebody's actively hurt and you actively need help, those rules don't apply. Again, make sure that you're trying to be professional on the radio. Hey, I'm here with so and so. But the rules don't apply if it's an emergency. So any way that you can get a hold of somebody, you can go ahead and get a hold of somebody. Have you ever had any lost hikers or anything like that you've ultimately had to like find and track down and get them medical service and things like that?
Yes. In my younger years, I did search and rescue as well.
How would they?
A lot of those.
How would they get a hold of you?
A lot of them were radio.
Okay.
They're radio or GPS.
Radio or GPS.
Yep.
Did they ever put signals on the ground to kind of tell you like where they were, or make a smoky campfire or anything like that?
We did have one guy shooting a gun in the air every 20 minutes.
Okay.
And we would use our sirens so he could hear us, and then we would wait, shut everything off and listen. He would fire a shot. We're like, okay, we think it's that direction. We get closer and closer until we kind of zoned in on him.
Right. So what would be some of the gear that you would say is essential for first aid in the backcountry?
Any type of dressing. Dressing's a big one, because you got bleeding. Gauze. Big gauze, little gauze, everything.
All the gauze,
AED pads. Those are a huge thing.
Okay.
IV stuff is very important, because if you get injured and you go into shock or anything, that's going to help with that.
Right.
The emergency warming blanket.
Okay.
Very important, especially if you're out in the snow or something you can lay on and insulate from the snow.
So that's like an emergency blanket, like one of the
like
little
the foil.
Yeah. Super lightweight.
Yep.
Yeah.
They weigh nothing to put them in your bag.
Right.
They're worth everything when you need them.
Right.
Those are important. Anything you can use as a splint, but keep in mind, if you're in the backcountry, everything is a splint.
Yes.
So rope.
Yes.
Rope, string, something like that, because you can reach just off to your side there and grab something that can be a splint, as long as you got that rope to secure it.
What about tourniquets?
Tourniquets are a big one.
Okay.
If you get any type of arterial bleed or anything, and you're in the backwoods, that is the only thing that's going to save your life, because time is everything when you got an arterial bleed.
And how much time is that?
Minutes. You want to get that thing on, secured. Obviously, you tighten it until the bleeding stops. A lot of people say, well, tighten it until it hurts. It's going to hurt. It is going to hurt, and it's going to suck, but you keep going until that bleeding stops. Otherwise, all you're doing is slowing it down.
Right. Now, do you prefer rats tourniquets versus cats tourniquets, or does it really?
It doesn't matter, really.
Okay.
Tourniquet's a tourniquet. If you're going to use one, let's say you don't have an actual tourniquet.
Yes.
Get something that is more strap-like instead of rope-like.
Okay.
Because you're going to start doing tissue damage if you use the thinner stuff like a shoestring or nylon rope. I mean, it's going to work, but you're going to do some damage in the process.
Right, I gotcha. So, what about like medications? What are the medications that you don't leave home whenever you're out camping? What do you have with you?
I have bacitracin, which is just triple antibiotic, is all that is. That's always good to prevent infections if you get cuts or slivers or anything. And I do betadine. I have little containers of betadine, little orange containers.
Yeah.
And those are very good for cleaning and keeping infection away.
Okay.
You just mix that with a little bit of water or saline even. If you're in an emergency situation, you only had like your bag of saline there, you could put the betadine in that, give it a shake, and then use this kit to just flush a wound.
Yes. Don't put it in you.
Yeah. Nope, just to flush and clean.
Right.
And then get some sort of bandage on there to secure it, maybe with some bacitracin or something on there.
So, do you carry ibuprofen? Do you carry aspirin? Like
Benadryl.
That? Okay.
Benadryl's a big one. If you don't have allergies and you don't carry an EpiPen, at least take the Benadryl with you.
Okay.
For any type of allergies, bee stings, stuff like that.
Okay. So now, what about those? Like they have those vials that you can break and put on bee stings. What do you think about those?
Those, they work.
Okay.
Yeah, they work.
Okay.
I don't know if I carry any with, but they do work.
Okay.
A lot of people take a pack of Red Man.
Really?
Chewing tobacco.
Interesting.
They'll throw that in their pack because you chew that up a little bit, put it on a bee sting, and it does help.
Really? I never knew that.
Yep.
I never knew that. I would have a hard time with putting my spit on a bee sting, but I mean, it is what it is. Okay. Let's see here. It's lightweight options for an IV. So, I mean, all this stuff can be kind of heavy.
Mm-hmm.
what is there any way? Can you get a smaller bag or something like that? Or
the one we used here is probably the smallest one I've seen, and that's kind of now the standard. They used to actually be way bigger.
Yes, I remember that.
Those,
yeah.
So they've kind of made them compact now. I don't know if they make a 250 milliliter or not.
Okay. What are some emergencies that you've experienced in your personal life as far as, your EMT training coming in and helping out and things like that?
I mean, nothing, I guess, really in the woods because we're pretty careful. I'm pretty conscious just being an EMT. I kind of watch the kids really close, that kind of stuff. But, I mean, like my daughter had a seizure when she was 1.5 years old, which I was able to use some of my skills.
Right.
My son blew his nose open on a bench that we had when he pulled it on him when he was about a year, I think about the same age, 1.5 years.
Right.
Where we had to stop the bleeding and make sure his head was in line, not moving around till we got to the hospital so we could check his neck and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, would you say that the training is important for even the lay person? Anybody? It is. Okay.
So most ambulance services, they do trainings once a month, once a week, whenever they are. The public can actually go in and sit in on those, on certain ones. So you can call and be like, hey, what's your training this week? And they don't mind if you come and sit in on that stuff.
Right.
Even though you're not getting licensed for that training, just having the knowledge itself is,
Right.
I mean, priceless.
So let's say you arrive on scene. What are the bare minimum essential things that you need to know? Let's say that I went down, Corey put an IV in me. What is it that you need to know right off the bat?
I'm going to want to know what size the IV is.
Okay.
I'm going to want to double check expiration, make sure it's the right stuff.
Okay.
Make sure everything's clean. I guess one of the biggest things when you go on the scene of something like that is your surroundings and your basic safety of the surroundings.
Right.
So if you fell in the mountains and I showed up on the ambulance or something, I'm going to look around like, why did he fall? Did he get knocked down by something? Did he get attacked by something? Did a tree fall on him? Now something's going to fall on us if we go to help.
Right.
Kind of just the safety of everything. Right. And then check the equipment that's being used to make sure it's being used properly. If somebody's got a tourniquet already applied, I'm not going to take that tourniquet off to put mine on there.
Right.
If it's doing the job and the bleeding has stopped, I'm going to let it go. If it's not, I'm not going to take that one off. I'm going to add another one above it.
Okay.
And keep going until it stops.
Okay. Are you going to want to know kind of if they know it? Are you going to want to know kind of basic vitals like pulse rate, breathing?
If they do know that, yes, that's very important.
Okay.
History, any type of medical history that person has is very important. Like if you're allergic to something,
right?
Because they used to use the bandage back in the day that had the shellfish stuff in it.
Yes.
And you'd put that on there, and people would have allergic reactions because they didn't ask the question on scene, hey, are they allergic to anything?
Yes, I got it.
Allergies are huge, especially if you're going to give any medications. If they're allergic to the betadine or iodine, that's very important.
Right.
Because you're not going to want to make it worse.
Right. And that's the one thing that I think that people don't kind of realize sometimes is that just like law enforcement, EMS is the same in that we have to make sure that, number one, we're getting there safely. Number two, whatever's happening on scene isn't going to happen to us, right? We want to make sure we want to take those extra couple of seconds to look around and see and just verify that we're not walking into a live power line.
And that's one of the biggest examples I use is you go to a car wreck and you think, okay, the cops are there, everything must be safe, but the cops didn't notice the power line across the hood of the car. You go and grab that car, it's going to be a bad day.
Right.
So you're looking for everything, just the totality of the entire scene.
Yes.
To figure out what happened, why did it happen, is it going to happen again with me there?
Right. And I've seen that. Unfortunately, I saw a video of a police officer who ended up dying because there was an accident with a semi, and the semi had some form of corrosive airborne chemical that was and it had punctured, and he went to go help him, and he ended up dying because he got the tunnel vision and he ran right in and was focused on the driver and didn't take in, there's a hole in that tank, it should probably get away from it.
Which can happen to the best of us. Everybody, when you get on scene, everybody wants to be the hero.
Right.
You can't be a hero if you're a victim too.
Right.
You can't save somebody's life if you're going down with them. Now you've just made more work for everybody else showing up on scene trying to save you and not doing that patient any good or that victim.
Right. Boy, do you have any other poignant information or anything that you'd want to get out to the viewers or anything that maybe I didn't ask you about?
Not that I can think of at the moment. I'm sure there's something, but
right. And if it's something that you're interested in, we could kind of make this into a mini series or something like that. But
yeah,
I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I appreciate
it. Yeah,
man.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I get camera shy and everything, so
it happens to the best of us. What you don't see is how many takes when I'm trying to do a video. What you don't see is how many takes I'm like talk. Oh no, I messed that up. Stop. Go back and do it all again. It's really bad when you get 10 minutes into a video, you put out all this information, and it's like, oh no, I have to pause it and do it again. But again, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming by, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I'm sure there's a whole host of things that we missed, things that you want answers to. If I get enough comments or questions or things like that, we can turn this, like I said, into a series. I think that'd be really cool. Like I said, one of the big things that I'm all about is training. Knowing how to do certain things. Again, I know how to do an IV, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not licensed. But basic first aid, that's something that I feel like everybody should have a good handle on. You never know when you could need it. You could be in Rosars. But guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate your viewership, and I will see you on the next one. Did that work or no? Was it too?
That was a perfect ending about the hero until you're